Hey, thanks for clicking on this video. I'm Vea and this is Case by Case Divorce. Today I'm talking about parenting coordinators and I'm going to share with you my best suggestions for questions to ask when you're vetting parenting coordinators so that you end up with a good one who's actually going to help you manage your ex instead of a bad one who's going to rack up your legal fees and leave you broke and feeling helpless. No, seriously though, parenting coordinators can be really helpful in managing an unruly, unreasonable ex, but they can also be a double edged sword where if your ex is constantly sending emails or creating problems, then you're going to end up with a huge legal bill. So let's dive into this and I'll help you figure out how to navigate it. Okay, so first of all, what are parenting coordinators? Parenting coordinators are kind of like having your own personal judge. They handle you and your ex so that you don't have to keep going to court or filing applications to settle things. So, parenting coordinators will have a list of things that they do make decisions on and things that they won't make decisions on. And pretty much they'll help you with smaller pieces, but they won't help you with big things like anything around money or support, where a child's going to be living, or the parenting arrangement in terms of custody and who has how much time. What they will help you with is things like medical decisions, like should the kid get braces, or should they go see this specialist, or should they get this type of treatment. Educational decisions around should the kid attend this course, should they switch schools, should they enter into this program. Special expense things like should the kid go to soccer or hockey. They make decisions around if the kid should go to counseling or not. Smaller things like this. When it's time to start looking at a parenting coordinator is if you're constantly getting brought to court or you're just incredibly harassed by your ex and they're just sending emails about the most outrageous thing and you can't handle it anymore. What we need to keep in mind is how the parenting coordinator is billing. If they're billing 50-50, then or even proportionate to income, then it's possible that you could end up with legal fees from $1,000 to $6,000 a month, maybe even more, depending on how much time they're spending on your file. So before you enter in with a parenting coordinator, the most important question you need to ask is, how do you bill? And if it's either 50-50 or proportionate, then that's okay, but we need to find out from this parenting coordinator, are they going to change that if they determine and they start to get the feeling that one person is obviously creating way more billable hours than the other? And the answer you want from the parenting coordinator is yes. I have a strategy for monitoring that, and when I see one person is taking advantage and financially abusing the other, I make the abuser pay. That's the ideal. You also want to find out about their determination process. So when you have a disagreement, your parenting coordinator will first kind of help you mediate whatever's going on. And they'll do this either over emails back and forth or maybe by calling a meeting. If you can't mutually agree on something, the parenting coordinator will make a determination. And determinations are legally binding. So the only way to get a determination changed is to actually take the whole thing to court. Determinations are made generally by both parties making written submissions that the parenting coordinator reviews, and then they'll write up their decision, and that's what it is. So it really is the power of a judge. They really do have a lot of power over you and your children's lives. Another great question to ask a parenting coordinator is, how often are they planning on having you meet? And are meetings over Zoom because of COVID, or are they in person? And then you need to try on and feel for yourself how that's going to work for you. If the parenting coordinator wants to have meetings between you and your ex every month, that's going to be really expensive and it's stressful, and you probably don't want to be around that person as much. Ideally, a parenting coordinator is either only going to call meetings when they're necessary or have them quarterly or right before holidays when things usually blow up or something like that. Another great question to ask a parenting coordinator is, what is their response time and their process in an emergency? So this is like, my parenting time started at 9 and the kids aren't here and it's 3 hours late and the ex isn't responding to text. Like, how are they going to respond to that and how quickly? Or in a medical emergency where the kid's at the hospital with one parent and the doctors are saying, let's get this done, but the other parent's saying no, like how fast is the response time? If you're new to the channel and you're finding this information helpful, please click like or subscribe and hit the notification bell, because I'm super sporadic in publishing videos because I'm a single mom going through a high conflict divorce. So I don't always get to videos as planned. And share this with people that you think it will help, because that's the whole point. The next couple things we want to ask our parenting coordinators, I haven't heard anyone else mention, and both of these things have such a huge financial impact. I'm shocked, so that's why I'm sharing it with you. We want to find out if your parenting coordinator is going to want you to work in tandem with a divorce coach. So a lot of parenting coordinators will get you on with them and they'll sign and you'll do your intake and everything. And then the first meeting where you're all together, they'll say, okay, well, actually, I can't receive feedback directly from either of you. I want you to work with this divorce coach, and you bring the problems forward to the divorce coach, and then anything beyond that you bring to me. So what do we have here now? Now we have two people who are billing you for reading emails and having meetings. I mean, divorce coaches, I guess, can help, but if you have a very high conflict narcissistic ex, probably what will happen is you'll have a few months of working with the divorce coach and then they'll fire you because one of the people is unreasonable. But either way, you need to be aware of that extra set of billing, because most divorce coaches are around $200 to $300 an hour, and most parenting coordinators around $400 to $500 an hour. So you can see how this is going to add up really quickly. Another thing you want to figure out along the same vein here is your parenting coordinator going to insist that your children have counseling, and then are you free to find the counselor, or do you only have the option of working from a list that they provide? Parenting coordinators have no way of hearing what the children are saying except through a counselor. So if you're saying, well, the kids come home every day and they said they've been up too late, and your ex is saying, well, no, that's not true, the parenting coordinator is just going to say, I don't know who to believe. I don't want to deal with this at all until the children can talk to a counselor about it, and the counselor will give feedback to me. So now, in this scenario, what we have is we've got your $400 to $500 an hour parenting coordinator, your $200 to $300 an hour divorce coach who's providing feedback to the parenting coordinator. So now there's two billings happening at once there. And then the children's counselor, who's usually around $200 an hour for one that will work in a high conflict divorce arena. And then you're paying for those appointments and for the communication double between the counselor and the PC. So parenting coordinators, yes, they can help you manage your high conflict ex, but the monthly billing that can happen is anywhere between, $1,000 and $6,000 or $7,000 or $8,000 a month if things are completely out of control. If you do decide to go with a parenting coordinator, I'm just going to give you a brief on the intake process so you have some tips on how to best navigate that. Of course, you're going to get the contract from them, which you need to read very carefully, because this is going to outline what they can make determinations on and what they can't. And you need to make sure that you're comfortable with all of those items, because once you sign, this person has the power to change you and your children's lives in these areas. You also want to find out how you can get out of this contract. What I found is just not paying seems to work. If your parenting coordination contract or your agreement with them is court ordered and you can't afford it because the bills are too high, I guess technically they could take you to court for contempt. But all you would really have to do is show a judge there that you legit can't pay these outrageous fees, right? I've heard from a few people that they were able to get out of these contracts by just not paying, but you are technically in contempt if this is a court-ordered PC agreement. It's up to you. So, contract. Read it, sign it, of course, print off a copy and keep it in your binder. And if you haven't checked out my video on how to keep a kick-ass court binder, check out the description down below and I will link to it. Let's do a breath break. Just even taking one deep breath helps you to regulate your nervous system, which can move you out of fight or flight and give you access to the parts of your brain that allow for executive function and logical thinking. Want to do another one? Yeah. Breathing. Okay. After the contract part, there's going to be an intake call, and the intake call is likely your only chance to give this PC a history of what's happened. Once you're past that first intake call, any communication you send to the PC has to be CC'd to your ex and likely the divorce coach as well. So there's no more transparency after this appointment. In this call, you want to outline all of the major problems in the co-parenting relationship and the relationship in general with your ex-partner. You need to do this pragmatically. Have 3 to 5 high impact examples ready. Have your narrative ready. Have the main problems broken down into categories, and then you could maybe have a few subheadings, like medical is a huge thing. He won't allow the kids to see the doctor, he refuses this and that, or education, or we're fighting over parenting time, whatever. You want to have that ready. And this is also where you're going to illustrate any safety concerns you have or examples of coercion and control, so that you're trying to highlight the power imbalances. This is also your opportunity to present yourself as a willing participant in the PC arrangement, and that you're going to cooperate, and that you are positive and have high hopes that this is going to work. This is also your chance to say the reasons why you maybe have doubts around it not working, or offer insight on where you think you might run into problems and where the speed bumps are. All in all, having a parenting coordinator is, like I said, it's a double-edged sword. It's helpful in the way that instead of constantly creating affidavits or responding to things in court and the stress of that, you can just write an email or say your truth in a meeting and be heard by the person who's making the decision. So it removes all that red tape. And in my personal experience, I feel a lot more heard as a person in my children's story. I feel like that we're all being heard a lot more. But it comes at a high price, right? When you have 1 or 2 or 3 professionals working as a team to manage you or your ex, and your ex has the ability to create more billable hours by creating more problems and conflict, then you can really run into trouble. I know a lot of women who have been kind of bankrupted by the parenting coordinator process. So you really have to weigh your options carefully. I'm not saying they're all bad, and I'm not saying it's always terrible, but I've never heard of it being awesome. So even if you do get some traction and you get some more rules put in place, like maybe, there's more communication rules in place, or you get a bit of reprieve around holidays where they're not harassing you all the time or something like this, it comes at a cost. So that's what I have to offer you on parenting coordinators. I sure hope this video helps. Please let me know if it did. Drop a comment down below, and thank you so much for watching. Take good care.